Hey guys, tonight we are beginning love in the medieval times. But before we get started, make sure that you subscribe the channel. Love, in the medieval world, was not loud. It did not rush. It did not announce itself with grand gestures or dramatic confessions. Most of the time, it arrived slowly. So slowly that people often didn't notice it at first. Love was not the reason people married. Marriage came first. Love, if it appeared at all, came later, like moss growing on stone. A man and a woman might marry as strangers. They stood side by side in a cold church. They spoke words chosen for them by tradition, by priests, by families. And then, they went home together. At first, there was awkwardness. Silence at the table. Careful glances. Separate routines. But days passed. Chores were shared. Bread was broken. Winters were survived. And slowly, something unfamiliar but steady formed. Love in the Middle Ages was often built, not discovered. It was waking up before dawn together. It was trusting someone to keep the fire going. It was knowing that if sickness came, you would not be alone. There were no expectations of romance. No pressure to feel fireworks. Only the quiet relief of partnership. For peasants, love meant reliability. For nobles, love meant loyalty. For knights, love meant longing from a distance. For poets, love meant suffering beautifully. And for most people, love meant endurance. The church spoke often about love, but carefully. Love was meant to be controlled. Directed. Contained within marriage. Passion was dangerous. Desire was suspicious. But affection, slow, patient affection, was tolerated. A hand held during prayer. A shared glance across the hearth. A habit of sitting closer each year. This kind of love didn't burn. It warmed. It did not demand. It adapted. And if love never came, people endured that too. Because survival mattered more than happiness. And stability mattered more than passion. Yet even then, people still felt. They still noticed small things. The sound of laughter. The way someone moved through a room. The comfort of a familiar presence in the dark. Love was not celebrated loudly. But it was lived quietly. And perhaps that is why, when medieval love did exist, it lasted. The candle burns low. Not because it is lonely, but because it has done its work. So too does the heart. In the medieval world, love did not shout. It waited. It learned the sound of another's footsteps in the dark. It learned when the fire would need tending. It learned the shape of silence shared without fear. Love was not found. It was kept. I did not choose you in a moment of passion. I chose you in 1,000 ordinary dawns. In the way you rose before the bell. In the way you returned when the road was cruel. Your hands were rough. Your voice was steady. And somehow, that was enough. They say love should blaze like a torch. But torches burn out. Love, here, is an ember. Carried carefully. Shielded from the wind. It does not dazzle. It endures. I have no poem worthy of your name. Only this truth. When winter pressed against the walls, you stayed. When bread was thin, you shared it. When the night was long, you did not turn away. This is my vow. Unwritten. Unwitnessed. Unbreakable. I loved you before I knew the word for it. Before priests named it. Before laws measured it. I loved you when I learned where you kept the spare candle. When I learned how you slept. When your absence felt heavier than your presence ever had. They warned me of desire. Said it would ruin me. Said it would lead me astray. But what they never warned me of was how gently love arrives. Not like a storm. Like a door left open. Your name rests in my mouth like prayer. Not spoken aloud. Not questioned. Just known. I do not ask you to be perfect. Only present. Only here. Only breathing beside me. When the world feels narrow. And the walls grow cold. If God watches us. Let him see this. Two souls, not burning. Not breaking. But remaining. I give you no ring of gold. Only my hands. Only my labor. Only the promise that when the fire dies, I will rise to light it again. This is medieval love. Uncelebrated. Unrecorded. Unremarkable to history. And yet, it lasts. Night settles into the stones. The walls remember every breath we take. I lie awake not because I long, but because I listen. To your sleep. To the small certainty that you are still here. In this world, that is enough. Love does not arrive with certainty. It arrives with patience. With learning the weight of another body beside you. With understanding the rhythm of shared hours. With accepting that some days will be colder than others. And staying anyway. I once thought love would change me. Make me lighter. Make me brave. Instead, it made me steady. It gave my days a shape. My nights a purpose. My waiting an end. I do not dream of elsewhere. I dream of tomorrow looking like today. Of bread rising. Of chores finished. Of your shadow crossing the floor at dusk. When I reach for you. I do not hurry. Touch is precious here. Measured. Allowed only in small moments. A brush of fingers. A shared cloak. A warmth borrowed, then returned. They taught us restraint. They taught us silence. They taught us fear. Yet love learned us differently. It learned us slowly. Gently. Without permission. If I were a poet, I would write of your eyes like stars. But I am not. So I say only this. You look for me when the room grows quiet. And I find you every time. The world beyond our door is harsh. The seasons do not care for promises. The bell tolls whether we are ready or not. But here. In this narrow space. Love lingers. I do not need passion. I do not need fire. I need constancy. I need the sound of your breath. To remind me that I am not alone. When age bends our backs. And softens our voices. This love will not be surprised. It has never demanded youth. If we are remembered. It will not be for romance. It will be for surviving together. For choosing the same path. Again and again. Love, here, is not written in ink. It is written in habit. In endurance. In the quiet decision to stay. And when the candle finally dies. Let it be known. It burned long enough. Morning comes without ceremony. No song. No announcement. Only light touching the edge of the room. You rise before me. Not to leave. But to begin. This is how love shows itself here. Not in words. In movement. I know you by the sounds you make. The careful step. The quiet breath. The way you pause before opening the door. As if listening to the world before meeting it. There are days when love feels distant. Muted. Buried beneath labor and ache. And yet, it does not vanish. It waits. I do not ask you if you love me. That question belongs to another age. Instead, I notice. That you return. That you remember. That you save the warm side of the bed. When the harvest fails. We do not blame each other. When the winter lingers, we endure it together. Love is not the absence of hardship. It is agreement in its presence. Once, I watched you mend a tear in your sleeve. Your hands moved without hurry. Without complaint. In that moment, I understood. Love is attention. Given freely. Sustained quietly. We do not speak of the future. The future is uncertain. Unreliable. We speak of today. Of what must be done. Of what must be carried. And still, love finds space between those tasks. At night, when the house settles, I feel you shift beside me. Not reaching. Not demanding. Only there. If faith lives anywhere, it lives here. In the trust that tomorrow will come. And that we will meet it together. There is no audience for this love. No witness. No record. But it endures. Unchanged by neglect. If death comes suddenly, let it find us this way. Unremarkable. Unafraid. Side by side. Love in this world is not made to be seen. It is made to be lived. Quietly. Completely. Until the light fades again. The years pass without asking permission. They soften the edges of us. They leave their marks quietly. Love does not resist them. It adapts. I no longer notice when you enter the room. Not because you are unseen. But because your presence is assumed. Like the walls. Like the hearth. Like the sky returning each morning. Once, we spoke more. Now, we understand. Silence has grown comfortable between us. Not empty. Full. Your hands have changed. So have mine. We no longer pretend not to notice. And still, when our fingers meet, they remember. Love has learned restraint here. It does not ask to be proven. It does not seek reassurance. It trusts what has already been lived. The world beyond us remains uncertain. Kings rise. Wars begin. Plagues whisper at the door. Inside, we keep order. Inside, we keep each other. I watch you sleep now. The way one watches a familiar flame. Not in awe. In gratitude. There are things I never told you. Not because they were hidden. But because they no longer needed saying. Love said them already. We did not chase happiness. We built steadiness. And somehow, that was enough. When prayer grows heavy, we share it. When hope grows thin, we carry it together. I do not fear being forgotten by the world. I fear only a life unshared. And that fear no longer belongs to me. If love is judged, let it be judged by this. We remained. No songs were written. No legends told. But in this quiet endurance, love found its truest shape. And still, there is more time. More days. More shared breaths. So we continue. If you wish, I can let this drift into love facing death. Love remembered after loss. Love that survives grief. Love at the very end. Just guide me, and I will stay slow. The bell rings somewhere beyond the hills. Not for us. For no one we know. Still, we pause. Out of habit. Out of memory. Love has learned the language of bells. There are fewer words now. Not because we have run out. But because they are no longer required. A glance is enough. A pause. A shared understanding that passes without sound. I remember the first winter we endured together. How the cold crept in through every crack. How we slept closer. Not for passion. But for warmth. That was love, too. Even if we did not name it. The world taught us to be cautious. To hold back. To measure affection like grain in a sack. And yet, love found its way through the measures. There were days when I doubted it. When fatigue blurred everything. When routine felt heavier than choice. Love did not argue. It waited. Your presence has become a certainty. Like the ground beneath my feet. Like the sky that returns no matter what happens below it. I do not look for it anymore. I stand upon it. When illness came, love became quieter. It did not promise healing. It promised company. It sat at the bedside. It stayed when others could not. I learned then that love is not strength. It is persistence. The years have thinned our reflections. The mirror no longer flatters. Love does not look away. We have buried people we once laughed with. We have watched seasons repeat themselves. And still, each morning, there you are. If this is all love ever is, then it is enough. Not extraordinary. Not envied. Enough. When night comes now, it comes gently. There is no fear in the dark. Only rest. If tomorrow does not arrive, know this. Love was not wasted here. It was lived. And if tomorrow does arrive, we will meet it. As we always have. Together. The fire burns lower now. Not weaker. Just quieter. We have learned when to add wood. And when to let the embers speak for themselves. Love learned that too. Once, the future felt vast. Now, it feels near. Not frightening. Simply close. Love has shortened the distance. Your breathing changes in sleep. I know when dreams trouble you. I know when they do not. I do not wake you. I stay. There are memories we no longer visit. Not because they hurt. But because they have settled. Like dust in sunlit air. We do not mark anniversaries. Time marks us. Each year leaves a gentler handprint than the last. I have forgotten the sound of life before you. Not deliberately. It simply faded. Love does not erase. It replaces. When the house creaks at night, we do not startle. Old wood complains. Old bones listen. Love understands both. Sometimes we sit without purpose. No task. No prayer. Just the quiet agreement. That being here is enough. If joy comes, we accept it. If it does not, we remain. Love no longer negotiates. I once feared solitude. Now I fear only absence. And even that fear has softened. When the bell rings again, closer this time, we will hear it together. Love will not argue with the moment. It never has. It will rest. Where it always has. Between us. If you wish, I can keep going. Until the words thin into silence. Or let this drift into love at the very end. Where breath slows. The morning light is softer now. It does not rush in. It waits at the edges. As if unsure whether it is needed. We welcome it anyway. Your name lives in me differently than it once did. It no longer rises to the lips. It rests in the chest. Unspoken. Certain. There are days when memory drifts. Faces blur. Moments loosen their hold. Love does not mind. It remains when memory wanders. I no longer ask what love means. The question feels unnecessary. Love has already answered. By staying. Your chair creaks when you sit. Mine answers it. The house has learned our language. We have fewer plans now. Only patterns. Morning. Midday. Evening. Love moves easily among them. Once, I feared the silence between us. Now, I listen to it. It is not empty. It is full of years. If I reach for you, it is not to claim, but to confirm. Yes. Still here. The world has not grown kinder. It never promised to. But love did not ask the world for permission. There is peace in repetition. In knowing what comes next. In trusting what does not change. Love has made a home there. When night settles, it settles gently. We do not resist it. If sleep takes me first, know this. I was not afraid. Love had already taught me how to rest. And if I wake, and you are there, as you have always been, then this, too, is enough. The day unfolds without demand. No hurry. No expectation. We move through it. The way water moves through stone. Slowly. Inevitably. Your presence no longer feels separate from mine. It is not something I notice. It is something I exist within. Once, love felt like a question. Now it feels like an answer. That no longer needs asking. The sounds of the world arrive muted. Wind against shutters. Distant voices. A cart passing somewhere far away. None of it interrupts us. I watch the light change on your face. Not to remember it. Not to capture it. Only to witness. Love here is not urgency. It is allowance. Room to breathe. Room to age. Room to remain. We have shared more ordinary moments than extraordinary ones. And it is the ordinary that has bound us. When fatigue settles in our bones, we accept it. Love does not require strength. Only presence. There are no promises left to make. They have all been fulfilled. By repetition. I sit beside you. As evening leans into night. No words. No need. If time slows, we slow with it. If it stops, we will not notice at first. Love has taught us how to be still, without being alone. And so we remain. Not waiting. Not wishing. Simply here. The candle does not ask how long it must burn. It simply does. In the medieval world, love learned from the candle. It did not question its purpose. It did not seek to be admired. It existed because it was lit. Love began here not with desire, but with presence. Two lives placed beside one another. Not by choice, but by custom. By family hands. By vows spoken in a language older than both hearts. At first, there was distance. Not cruelty. Not fear. Only unfamiliarity. Two strangers sharing air. Sharing space. Sharing a future neither had imagined. Love did not arrive that night. It waited. Morning followed. Then another. Then many more. Love learned the rhythm of labor. The weight of water carried from the well. The sound of grain poured into sacks. The slow ache of muscles used daily. Love noticed who rose first. Who lingered. Who remembered to close the shutters before rain. Love is attention. And attention came easily here. There were no confessions. No declarations. No spoken promises. Instead, there was bread left aside. A cloak adjusted silently. A task completed without being asked. Love took the shape of usefulness. The world beyond the walls was harsh. Cold years followed warm ones. Hunger returned as it always did. Illness arrived without warning. Love did not argue with the world. It stood against it quietly. When fear came, love sat beside it. When grief entered, love did not leave. At night, bodies rested close. Not always touching. Not always facing. But always aware. Breath learned breath. Sleep learned sleep. Love learned stillness. Once, long ago, desire had seemed dangerous. The church warned of it. The elders spoke against it. The world watched carefully. So love learned restraint. It softened rather than burned. It endured rather than demanded. It waited for permission it never needed. The seasons passed. Fields changed color. Faces changed shape. Hands grew rougher. Voices quieter. Love did not notice the change as loss. Only as continuation. Sometimes there were arguments. Not dramatic. Not violent. Just the quiet friction of two lives sharing limited space. Love did not disappear then. It learned patience. Children may have come. Or perhaps they did not. Love adjusted either way. It rocked cradles. Or it filled silence. Both were accepted. Love did not need witnesses. It did not need approval. It lived between walls. Between meals. Between long winters and longer nights. If there was laughter, it was brief. If there was joy, it was practical. Love here was not entertainment. It was foundation. Years passed without announcement. Love learned the sound of aging bones. The hesitation before standing. The careful steps at dusk. Love slowed with the body. Memory softened. Details faded. Love did not rely on memory. It relied on habit. Habit is love's longest companion. When sickness arrived, love became smaller. Quieter. It did not promise healing. It promised presence. It stayed when others could not. There was no fear of being unseen. Love had never required being noticed. At night, the house settled. Wood spoke. Stone cooled. Love listened. Eventually, the world narrowed. Tasks fewer. Days shorter. Love accepted this narrowing. It made room. Words were used less. Not from distance. But from understanding. Silence became familiar. Comfortable. The bell rang sometimes. For others. Love paused out of habit. Out of respect. If prayer came, it came gently. If doubt came, it stayed quietly. Love did not argue with either. When the fire burned low, love did not panic. It added wood. Or let the embers rest. There were no regrets loud enough to matter. Only gratitude that did not need expression. If death approached, love did not turn away. It stayed. As it always had. Love here was not a story told. It was a life lived. Unrecorded. Unremarkable. Unforgotten by those within it. And when the candle finally faded, it did not mean love had failed. It meant it had burned long enough. The night grows deeper. But not darker. Darkness here is familiar. It does not threaten. It settles. Love has learned the shape of night. Once, night meant uncertainty. Now it means rest. The body lowers itself without fear. The mind loosens its grip. Love stands watch without effort. There is a rhythm to shared living. It is not spoken. It is learned. The pause before sleep. The sigh before turning over. The quiet understanding of when not to speak. Love moves inside these spaces. Long ago, there may have been longing. Questions. Wondering. Those feelings did not vanish. They simply became unnecessary. Love does not require intensity to remain real. The world beyond the door still shifts. New rulers. Old conflicts. The same roads worn thinner each year. Love does not follow these changes. It stays. Morning comes again. It always does. Light stretches slowly across the floor. Dust rises. The house exhales. Love wakes without surprise. There is work to be done. Always. Love does not romanticize labor. It shares it. A bucket lifted. A table wiped. A task finished without comment. This is devotion made practical. There were once dreams of something else. Somewhere else. Love did not mock those dreams. It simply outlasted them. Hands meet occasionally. Not searching. Not pleading. Confirming. Yes. Still here. Love has no urgency now. No impatience. It has learned that time is not something to conquer. It is something to move with. If loneliness ever visited, it did not stay long. Love did not entertain it. The years pressed gently now. Not heavily. Not cruelly. Love bends where the body cannot. There are fewer mirrors. Fewer reasons to look. Love does not need reflection. When memory falters, love fills the gaps. It does not ask to be remembered. It simply remains. Somewhere, bells ring again. Closer this time. Not alarming. Love listens. Does not rush. If fear appears, it is quiet. Love sits beside it. Until it fades. The house has learned your weight. The floorboards respond differently beneath you. Love notices these things. There is no counting of days now. No marking of years. Love no longer measures. When sleep arrives, it is accepted. Not resisted. Not delayed. If dreams come, they pass gently. Love does not follow them. Breath slows. The world narrows. Love does not shrink. If this is the end, it is not sudden. It has been arriving for years. And if it is not the end, then tomorrow will come. Love will meet it. As it always has. Quietly. Faithfully. Without need for witness. The hours lose their edges. They soften. They blur into one another like mist along the fields. Time no longer presses. It drifts. Love drifts with it. There was once a need to understand everything. To name feelings. To measure meaning. Love released that need long ago. Now it knows by being. The body remembers what the mind forgets. The way to reach for another in the dark. The way to adjust the blanket without waking them. The way to sit close without touching. Love lives in memory older than thought. Outside, seasons turn as they always have. Seeds buried. Crops gathered. Fields resting. Love follows the same pattern. There is comfort in predictability. In knowing the shape of the day before it begins. Morning light. Midday quiet. Evening rest. Love settles easily into this order. Sometimes there is laughter. Short. Unexpected. It does not linger. It does not need to. Love accepts joy the way it accepts sorrow. Briefly. Gently. The house holds many sounds. The soft scrape of a chair. The settling of beams. The wind testing the shutters. Love listens without concern. There were moments once. When love felt fragile. Easily lost. Easily broken. Those moments passed. Love learned wait. Hands move more slowly now. Steps are measured. Breath comes with thought. Love adjusts its pace. There is no fear in slowness. Only awareness. If pain appears, it is met with patience. Love does not rush relief. It offers presence. The world still speaks of urgency. Of ambition. Of desire. Love has stepped away from those voices. At night, the dark feels familiar. Not empty. Full. Full of what has been shared. Full of what remains. There are no expectations left unmet. No promises left undone. Love completed them quietly. Day by day. Sometimes sleep comes easily. Sometimes it does not. Love stays either way. When dreams arrive, they are simple. Fields. Light. Movement without strain. Love does not interrupt them. The body grows tired more often now. Love carries what it can. If the morning feels heavier, love does not ask why. It simply rises. There is dignity in endurance. Love learned this early. The world beyond may remember kings. Wars. Dates etched into stone. Love remembers mornings. Evenings. Shared silence. If history ever looked inside this life, it would see nothing remarkable. And yet, everything that mattered was here. The candle burns lower again. Not urgently. Naturally. Love watches without fear. When the flame fades, it does not mean darkness. It means rest. And if rest deepens, love does not resist it. It follows. Still, for now. Breath continues. Time moves. And love remains. The light lingers longer on the wall now. Not brighter. Just slower. It rests there. As if it, too, has learned not to rush. Love recognizes this patience. There was a time when every change felt important. A new ache. A new silence. A new habit. Now change arrives gently. And love receives it without resistance. The day is made of small things. A cup lifted. A door closed. A pause before speaking. Love lives in these moments. Because it has nowhere else to go. The body carries its years honestly. No disguise. No protest. Love does not ask it to be different. Sometimes the mind wanders backward. To earlier rooms. Earlier voices. Love allows the wandering. But does not follow. It stays here. Outside, the world continues its endless work. People come and go. Names are spoken, then forgotten. Love does not compete with this movement. There is comfort in knowing. What will not change? The place by the fire. The chair near the window. The presence beside you. Love rests there. We no longer speak of beginnings. Beginnings belong to memory. We live in continuation. Hands know their tasks without instruction. The body moves with quiet certainty. Love learned this certainty long ago. If sadness appears, it is familiar. Not heavy. Not sharp. Love sits with it. As one sits with old pain. That no longer surprises. Night arrives again. It always does. The house closes in around us. Not as a cage. But as shelter. Love feels safest in the dark. There are fewer expectations there. Breathing slows. Thoughts soften. Love does not hold tightly. It never has. The world speaks often of endings. Love does not listen. It understands that endings are only quiet continuations. If tomorrow feels smaller, love will fit inside it. If tomorrow feels large, love will remain unchanged. There is nothing left to prove. Nothing left to secure. Love completed its work. By staying, the fire settles into embers. The room grows still. Love does not fade with the light. And so the hours pass. Uncounted. Unmarked. Breath follows breath. Time loosens its grip. Love remains. The room feels smaller now. Or perhaps the world beyond it has grown farther away. Either way, love adjusts its reach. It has learned not to stretch too far. There was a time when touch meant discovery. Now it means reassurance. A hand resting. A shoulder leaned upon. A presence confirmed without words. Love has refined itself. The sounds of the house are familiar companions. They do not interrupt. They accompany. The creak of wood. The sigh of wind. The settling of walls that have held many winters. Love has lived inside these sounds long enough to know they mean safety. The day no longer asks much. And we no longer offer more than we have. Love respects limits. Sometimes we sit facing the same direction. Not each other. This is not distance. This is agreement. There are fewer questions now. Not because everything is answered, but because answers no longer matter. Love has moved beyond explanation. Memory wanders in slow circles. It returns to simple scenes. Light on stone. Hands at work. Quiet evenings. Love does not correct memory. It lets it rest. The world has always been uncertain. This is not new. Love learned long ago. That certainty is not required to remain. If loneliness ever passes nearby, it does not enter. Love stands gently in the doorway. We no longer speak of fear. Fear has softened into caution. Caution into care. Love has shaped them all. At night, the darkness feels complete. Not heavy. Whole. Love does not resist the dark. It recognizes it as part of rest. Breath becomes something to notice. Then something to trust. Then something to release. Love follows this rhythm. There is no rush now. No pulling forward. No holding back. Only presence. The world may forget this life. It often does. Love does not. If this moment lasts, love will stay with it. If it passes, love will pass gently too. There is nothing left undone. That matters. Nothing left unsaid. That needs saying. Love has spoken through years. Not words. The house grows quieter. The fire dims further. Love remains unafraid. Time loosens again. Thought drifts. Breath slows. Love does not cling. And still, here we are. Not waiting. Not leaving. Simply continuing. I can keep this flowing without limit. 4 hours of narration. Or guide it softly into the final rest. Or into the quiet after love remains without breath. The air feels heavier now. Not with weight, but with stillness. The kind of stillness that settles when nothing is expected. Love is comfortable here. There was once a time when the future pressed close, demanding decisions, demanding courage. Now the future waits politely. Love has taught it patience. The body rests more often. Not from weakness, but from knowing when rest is earned. Love agrees. Voices from the past visit quietly. They do not linger. They do not disturb. Love listens. Then lets them pass. We have learned that closeness does not require movement. That companionship does not require conversation. Love has simplified itself. The hands that once worked endlessly now rest more often in stillness. Love remembers their labor, even when they do not move. There is no shame in slowing, no fear in stopping. Love was never measured by speed. The world beyond continues, with its noise and urgency. Love remains unconcerned. It has chosen another rhythm. At times, the heart feels very quiet. Not empty. Quiet. Love rests there without alarm. If breath becomes shallow, love does not panic. It adjusts its listening. There are moments when thought drifts away entirely. Love stays. Night no longer feels separate from day. They blend gently, one yielding to the other. Love makes room for both. If the body forgets its strength, love remembers it. If the mind forgets its name, love answers anyway. There is tenderness here. Not dramatic. Not desperate. Simply present. The house feels fuller now. Even in silence. Years have settled into its walls. Love lives among them. If this moment stretches, love stretches with it. If it contracts, love fits. There is no need to look back. No need to look ahead. Love exists entirely here. The fire has become embers. The embers glow softly. Love mirrors them. The world speaks less loudly now. Or perhaps we listen less. Love does not mind either way. If sleep arrives, it is welcomed. If it delays, it is respected. Love does not command rest. It allows it. Time loosens again. The edges blur. Love remains clear. And still. Nothing ends. The breath continues. The quiet deepens. Love stays. The room holds its breath. Not in waiting, but in ease. Nothing is expected now. Nothing is required. Love understands this moment. There was once a time when love felt like effort. Like tending a flame against the wind. Now the wind has settled. The flame burns on its own. The body no longer argues with time. It listens. It adjusts. Love follows the same lesson. We have learned that closeness does not depend on nearness. That being together does not require motion. Love has become spacious. The light fades slowly. Not into darkness, but into softness. Edges dissolve. Shapes blur. Love does not lose itself in this change. Thoughts arrive less often now. When they do, they pass gently. Love does not hold them. The world outside still turns. Somewhere, voices rise. Somewhere, bells ring. Here, there is no urgency. There is a deep familiarity. In this stillness. Not boredom. Not emptiness. Recognition. Love has lived long enough to know when nothing more is needed. If a hand moves, it does so without intention. If it rests completely. Love accepts both. The breath grows quieter. Not weaker. Simply softer. Love listens closely. Time loosens further. Moments stretch without effort. Love moves easily inside them. There is no fear here. Fear has nothing left to claim. Love has filled the space it once occupied. The house seems to lean inward. As if listening too. Walls remember. Floors remember. Love has been kind to them. If memory fades entirely, love remains intact. It does not rely on recall. If words disappear, love does not follow them. It has learned another language. The fire gives one last gentle glow. Not final. Just resting. Love mirrors its patience. The world feels distant now. Not gone. Simply quiet. Love does not reach for it. There is nothing left to carry. Nothing left to prepare. Love has already arrived. Where it needs to be. Breath follows breath. Then rests between them. Love rests there too. Nothing ends. Nothing begins. The moment holds. And love. Love stays. The space between breaths grows wider. Not empty. Spacious. A pause where nothing is asked. And nothing is taken. Love rests there. The body no longer insists on being noticed. It settles into itself. It listens inward. Love follows. Not leading. Not pulling. There was a time when closeness required effort. A reaching. A leaning. Now closeness simply exists. Unchallenged. Unquestioned. The room feels warmer. Though the fire has nearly gone out. Warmth no longer comes from flame alone. Love has learned to hold heat. Sounds soften further. Even the house seems to move less. Wood no longer complains. Stone no longer shifts. Love understands this language of stillness. The past does not call loudly anymore. It whispers. Then grows quiet. Love does not chase it. There is a tenderness here. That has nothing to prove. No urgency. No hunger. Only allowance. If the eyes close, they do so naturally. If they open again, there is no surprise. Love greets both the same way. The world beyond has receded into suggestion. A distant idea. A memory of movement. Here, there is only now. The heart beats without announcement. Steady. Unremarkable. Love does not count the beats. It trusts them. Time feels different here. Not slower. Not faster. Less important. If sleep arrives, it is not a crossing. It is a settling. Love settles too. The body releases what it no longer needs. Tension. Expectation. Holding. Love never asked for those things. There is no edge to this moment. No clear boundary. It blends gently into what comes next. If silence deepens, love deepens with it. If thought fades, love remains intact. Nothing presses forward. Nothing pulls back. Everything simply is. The quiet is not empty. It is complete. Love recognizes completeness. Breath becomes subtle. Almost unnoticed. Love notices anyway. The house, the night, the moment. All rest together. Love rests among them. No ending waits here. No beginning announces itself. Only continuation. And so we remain. Still. Present. Unafraid. The night has settled fully now. Not fallen. Settled. Like a cloak laid carefully across the world. Love understands cloaks. It knows how warmth is kept. How protection does not need weight. The moon does not intrude. It watches. Its pale light touches stone, wood, skin, and withdraws without taking anything. Love behaves the same way. There was a season when love burned hot. bright enough to wound the eyes. That season had its purpose. This one has depth. We have learned that devotion does not shout. It kneels. It waits. It stays. The body breathes as if it has always known. This rhythm. In. Out. No instruction needed. Love follows without command. Outside these walls, the world still believes in struggle. Inside, love has chosen mercy. There is an old understanding here. Older than vows. Older than names. A knowing that does not argue with time. Once, love wanted to be remembered. Now it is content to be lived. The hands rest as they have rested. After long labor. Not tired. Finished for the day. Love honors that rest. The heart no longer rushes toward tomorrow. Tomorrow can wait. Love has nowhere else to be. Candles were made to burn down. This was never a failure. Love was never afraid of diminishing light. Shadows lengthen. Then soften. Then lose their shape. Love remains recognizable. There is no fear of absence here. Absence has already been folded into presence. Love learned how to do this quietly. If memory loosens its grip, love tightens nothing. It trusts what remains. The silence grows thicker. Like wool. Like earth. It is not empty. It is fertile. We sit within it. As one sits within prayer. Not asking. Not confessing. Simply attending. The world beyond may end 1,000 times. Here, love has learned another calendar. Measured not in years, but in shared stillness. If words disappear entirely, love will not follow them into darkness. It will stay where meaning lives without sound. The night breathes with us now. Slow. Uninsistent. Love breathes back. Nothing presses. Nothing pulls. The moment holds itself. This is not the edge of love. It is the wide field beyond urgency. And so we remain. Within the hour. Within the quiet. Within each other. Love does not ask how long this will last. It has already decided to stay. The night has weight now. But it is a friendly weight. Like a heavy wool mantle. Worn through many winters. Love knows how to live beneath such cloth. The world beyond the walls is old. Older than fear. Older than hope. And love, too, has aged into something quietly unbreakable. There was once a desire to be chosen loudly. Publicly. Before witnesses and bells. Now love is content. To be chosen again. Each silent moment. The body remembers seasons. Even when the mind does not. Cold mornings. Warm bread. Hands numb, then steady. Love was present in all of it. Unannounced. Stone floors keep the day's warmth. They give it back slowly at night. Love does the same. We have learned that devotion is not proven by sacrifice alone, but by return. Returning to the same chair. The same presence. The same quiet trust. The heart does not speak now. It listens. Love has taught it this skill. Time no longer feels like a road. It feels like a room. We are already inside it. Once, love feared stillness. Thinking it meant loss. Now it understands. Stillness is where endurance lives. The night carries distant sounds. A dog. A footstep. A wind shift in the trees. None of them disturb us. Love recognizes the difference between danger and life continuing. The hands, once restless, now rest easily. Not empty. Full. There is a holiness here that no priest ever named. It requires no altar. No ritual. Only presence that refuses to leave. Memory fades around the edges. Like parchment worn thin by touch. Love remains legible. We no longer seek signs. Love has already answered. The body settles deeper into rest. Breath slows further. Love adjusts its pace. To match. If dreams come, they are simple. Light through a narrow window. Footsteps on packed earth. A familiar voice saying nothing at all. Love does not interrupt dreams. It keeps watch. The darkness does not threaten. It shelters. Love has learned how to see without light. Once, love wanted eternity. Now it is satisfied. With this moment repeated, the world may mark time. With wars and crowns. Love marks it. With shared silence. Nothing calls us forward. Nothing pulls us back. We remain balanced. Inside the hour. This is not waiting. This is dwelling. And so love dwells. Patient. Unadorned. Faithful to the quiet. The night deepens, but does not darken. It grows softer, like a candle turned low. So the flame may last. Love has learned this trick. There was a time when love asked for proof. Now it asks only for time. And time has given itself willingly. We sit within the hour. As monks once sat in prayer. Not to reach heaven. But to remain awake to what already is. The walls breathe slowly. Stone expands, contracts. Even what seems unmoving is quietly alive. Love listens to this. You do not speak your name. I do not need it. Love recognizes what endures. Without introduction. Once, the future felt vast and sharp. Now it is rounded, worn smooth. By passing days. Love fits comfortably inside it. There is no hunger here. No reaching. Only the gentle satisfaction. Of something fulfilled. And continuing. The past drifts by. Like torchlight along a corridor. Visible, then gone. Love does not chase it. Breath aligns with breath. Not deliberately. It simply happens. Love allows. This is how medieval hearts survived. Not by passion alone. But by endurance made gentle. Hands know where to rest. Eyes know when to close. Love teaches the body. What the mind forgets. The world beyond the window. Turns slowly. Stars hold their places. With quiet discipline. Love understands this patience. Nothing needs to be said. To make this real. Silence has done the work. If morning comes. It will arrive without announcement. Love will be ready. The way it always is. If morning does not come. Love will not protest. It has already learned. How to stay. This is not the fire of youth. This is the coal beneath the ash. Steady, warm. Unafraid of time. We remain. Not because we must. Because we choose to. Again and again. Without ceremony. And love. Old and quiet and faithful. Keeps breathing with us. The night is no longer something outside us. It has entered the room. Settled into the corners. Learned our breathing. Love welcomes it. Long ago, love was loud. It needed witnesses. Songs. Bright declarations. Now it speaks only when necessary. And even then, softly. Time passes not in hours. But in small mercies. A shift in posture. A shared breath. The easing of a tired limb. Love notices these things. The body grows heavy. Not with burden, but with belonging. Love anchors us. Without chains. In the medieval world. This was how affection endured. Not as flame, but as hearth. Outside, the road lies empty. No footsteps approach. No danger calls. Love does not tense. It trusts the quiet. We have learned that nothing valuable arrives suddenly. Love was built by repetition. Each day added a stone. Each kindness, mortar. Now the structure stands. Without effort. There is no fear of absence here. Even when the room is still, presence remains. Love has filled the space. The mind drifts. Not away, but inward. Love follows, unafraid. Sleep edges closer, but does not hurry us. Love keeps watch until it is no longer needed. If dreams rise, they are not dramatic. They are simple as bread, warm as hands. Love approves. Once, love feared ending. Now it understands continuation. Is enough. The night stretches. Patient as old monks counting stars. Love counts nothing. We exist between moments. Neither before nor after. Love rests here comfortably. Nothing is demanded of us. Nothing expected. Love has removed all conditions. And so we remain. Held not by passion, but by something older. Something that stays. The hour grows thick and slow. Time no longer walks. It sits. Love sits with it. There is a peace that only comes after longing has finished speaking. This is that peace. In the medieval world, this was the truest form of devotion. Not the vow spoken aloud, but the staying. Candles shorten. Shadows soften. Love does not mourn the light. It has learned the value of dimness. The body settles into stillness. That is not emptiness. It is rest earned. We no longer measure closeness by touch alone. Proximity of spirit is enough. Silence here is not absence. It is conversation. Without sound. Love understands this language. Once, love chased meaning. Now it allows meaning to arrive quietly. There is no fear in the pauses. Pauses are where life breathes. Love waits comfortably inside them. Outside, somewhere, a bell may toll the hour. Inside, nothing changes. Love does not move. Unless it must. This is not sleep. This is suspension. A moment held open. Without strain. The past no longer weighs. The future no longer pulls. Love has loosened both hands. Medieval lovers knew this feeling. Even if they had no words for it. The calm after yearning. The safety of endurance. Breath deepens again. Slow. Even. Love follows the rhythm. No story is being told now. The story has already happened. This is the remaining warmth. If dawn arrives, it will find love unchanged. If it does not, love will not notice the difference. And so we remain. Not held by promise, but by presence. The night folds itself inward. Not closing. Settling. Love settles with it. There is no edge to this hour. It does not begin or end. It simply holds. Once, love feared being forgotten. Now it knows. What endures does not announce itself. The room carries memory in its beams. Hands have rested here before. Lives have paused in this same quiet. Love joins a long lineage. In medieval hearts. This was the deepest intimacy. To share silence without unease. Breath slows again. Matching the calm of stone. Love adapts without effort. Nothing presses for attention. Nothing interrupts. Love has space to exist. Without performance. The mind drifts gently. Like smoke that no longer burns. Love watches without grasping. Outside, the sky turns slowly. Stars hold their places. With ancient discipline. Love respects this order. There is no desire to move forward. No wish to return. Love has found its resting place. This is not passion fading. It is passion transformed. From fire. Into warmth. Hands may touch or not touch. Both are enough. Love is no longer dependent. On proof. The body understands. What the heart already knows. Staying is the truest devotion. In another age. This would not be written. It would simply be lived. The vigil continues. Without effort. Love keeps time. By presence alone. Nothing ends here. Nothing begins. Love remains. The hour no longer belongs to the clock. It belongs to the body. To the calm between heartbeats. Love lives there. The night has grown kind. Not empty. Not deep. Simply wide enough. To hold us. Once, love was a hunger. Now it is nourishment. No seeking. No wanting. Only sustenance. Stone remembers warmth. Wood remembers hands. Love remembers nothing. Because it has never left. The world beyond this room. Moves on without us. That is not loss. That is permission. In medieval lives. This was the truest luxury. To pause without fear. Love grants that pause. Silence rests gently. Against the senses. Not heavy. Protective. We have outlived urgency. Love does not rush. What is already whole. The breath deepens. Then evens. The body trusts the night. Love encourages that trust. There is no need to watch the door. No need to guard the moment. Love has already secured it. If thoughts arise, they drift away again. Love does not cling to passing things. This is how endurance feels. When it is gentle, the night remains open. But nothing enters. Nothing needs to. We are not waiting for dawn. We are not avoiding it. Love does not orient itself around endings. The vigil continues. Not as effort, but as presence. And so we stay. Unmoving. Untroubled. Unafraid of time. The night no longer feels vast. It feels familiar. Like a path walked so often. The feet remember it without thought. Love walks it with us. The air carries the faint scent of ash and wool. Old fire. Old cloth. Old comfort. Love has always lived among such things. Once, love demanded to be seen. Now it is content to be known. There is a difference. The body sinks deeper into rest. Not surrendering. Only trusting. Love teaches this trust. Slowly. Over years. In medieval hearts. This was the quiet miracle. To survive long enough. To become gentle. No music plays. Yet rhythm remains. Breath. Heartbeat. Time. Love listens to them all. The walls do not judge. The dark does not accuse. Love has nothing left to defend. Thoughts move like monks in a cloister. Slow. Deliberate. Silent. Love walks among them. Unnoticed. There is no fear of solitude here. Companionship has become internal. Love no longer needs proof to exist. The night does not press forward. It waits. Love understands waiting as a form of care. Hands rest where they always have. Familiar. Unremarkable. Love is built from such moments. This is not the poetry of longing. It is the poetry of remaining. Once, love burned to be chosen. Now it burns only to warm. If memory stirs, it does so gently. Love allows remembrance. Without pain. The world beyond this moment may be loud, bright, demanding. Here, it has no voice. This stillness is not absence. It is fullness without movement. Love thrives here. We are not passing time. Time is passing us. And love does not mind. And so the vigil holds. Quiet. Unbroken. Faithful. The night has learned our names. And no longer asks them aloud. Love recognizes without calling. There is a softness now. In everything that remains. Not weakness. Familiarity. Once, love wished to be eternal. Now it understands. That constancy is enough. The body carries small histories. A healed ache. A remembered warmth. Love has traced them all. Without leaving scars. In medieval lives. This was the secret blessing. To share time. Without needing to conquer it. No footsteps cross the threshold. No voice interrupts. Love has closed the world gently. And kept what matters inside. Breath rises. Breath falls. The simplest ritual. The truest one. This is not the love of songs shouted in halls. This is the love that survived. After the hall went quiet. The heart no longer leaps. It steadies. Love has matured into balance. Darkness does not hide us. It holds us. Love trusts what cannot be seen. Once, desire asked, what if? Now love answers, here. The mind wanders briefly. Then returns. Love always returns. There is no need to touch. To feel closeness. Proximity has become internal. Time has stopped asking anything of us. It has learned we are not leaving. In medieval nights like this, people learned what truly mattered. Not passion. But presence. The fire has collapsed into glow. No flame. Only heat. Love mirrors this exactly. If silence grows deeper, it does not suffocate. It nourishes. We are not guarding love anymore. Love guards us. The vigil is effortless now. No watchfulness required. Love keeps itself alive. Nothing remains to be proven. Nothing left undone. Love rests in completion. And so we stay. Not because the night asks it. But because love does. The night has grown ancient around us. Not old in years. But old in wisdom. It knows how to hold without tightening. Love learned that here. The air feels settled. As though it has decided. Nothing else needs to happen. Love agrees. Once, love feared silence. Because it mistook it for distance. Now it understands. Silence is closeness without effort. The body no longer searches for comfort. It has found it. Love rests where it is not questioned. In medieval halls. This was the hour when guards leaned on spears. Fires dimmed. And even worries slept. Love kept watch quietly. Nothing demands attention. Nothing competes. Love exists without rivalry. The heart beats evenly. No longer announcing itself. Love does not need to be heard. To be real. There is a humility to this hour. A knowledge that nothing must be added. For it to be complete. Once, love believed intensity was the same as truth. Now it knows truth is calm. The darkness carries no threat. It has already proven itself trustworthy. Love lets its shoulders drop. If memory drifts in, it does so without sharpness. Old laughter. Old warmth. Love allows it to pass gently. This is how medieval love endured wars. Winters. Losses. By learning how to be quiet. Without disappearing. Hands rest as they always have. Familiar. Unremarked. Love is made of such details. There is no future imagined here. No past rehearsed. Only this sustained moment. That refuses to collapse. The night breathes with us now. Love has synchronized itself. To the world. No vow is spoken. None is needed. Love has already chosen. If dawn comes, it will not undo this. If it does not, this will still have been enough. This is love after urgency. After fear. After hunger. This is love that has learned how to remain. And so the vigil continues. Not as waiting. Not as longing. But as dwelling. The night has thinned into something transparent. Not lighter. Not weaker. Simply familiar. Love moves through it without resistance. There is a warmth that does not come from fire. It comes from having nothing left to fear. In another's presence. This is that warmth. Once, love spoke in promises. Now it speaks in maintenance. Staying. Returning. Remaining gentle. The body remembers where it belongs. It no longer shifts in search of ease. Love has taught it stillness. In medieval lives. This was the reward few spoke of. After duty, after hunger, after years. The calm of having chosen. And been chosen back. The walls hold the quiet carefully. They do not echo. Love does not need repetition. Breath continues its small labor. Faithful. Unnoticed. Love mirrors it exactly. Thoughts no longer press for meaning. Meaning has already arrived. And sat down beside us. There is a gentleness in not asking questions. Whose answers would change nothing. Love has learned discernment. The darkness carries shape now. Corners, beams, familiar shadows. Love recognizes the room. As part of itself. Once, love burned to be extraordinary. Now it is content to be sufficient. Time moves, but it no longer measures us. We have passed beyond its concern. Love does not count what it already holds. In medieval silence like this, people understood devotion as presence without spectacle. No witnesses. No applause. The heart beats on. Not loudly. Not urgently. Love has settled into rhythm. If sleep comes, it will be welcomed. If it does not, that is fine too. Love does not demand outcomes. The world outside may turn restless again. Morning will bring noise. Voices, obligations. Love is not threatened by this. It knows how to wait. Without tension. This is love stripped of performance. Of fear. Of ambition. This is love that has survived long enough to trust itself. We are not holding on to the night. The night is holding us. Love allows this exchange. And so the vigil continues. Not as endurance, but as belonging. The night no longer feels like night. It feels like a pause the world agreed upon. Love lives easily inside pauses. There is a quiet courage in remaining still, when nothing is asking you to move. This is that courage. Once, love was a reaching hand. Now it is a resting one. The body understands now that it does not need guarding. Love has already made this place safe. In medieval lives, this was the rarest peace. A moment not claimed by labor. Not summoned by prayer. Not demanded by fear. Love kept it alive. The air is cool, but not cold. It touches the skin, without asking for response. Love behaves the same way. Thought slows until it becomes something like listening. Love listens with it. There is no need to mark this hour. It will remember itself. Love does not forget what was lived gently. Once, longing filled the chest, until it ached. Now the chest feels wide, open, unburdened. Love has made room. The darkness does not press closer. It simply stays. Love has learned that staying is enough. If the mind wanders, it returns softly, like a bird settling back onto a beam. Love waits without impatience. In halls of stone and timber, people learn this truth slowly. That affection does not need motion to remain alive. The fire is only glow now. No flame. No sparks. Just warmth. Love mirrors this perfectly. Nothing here seeks attention, nothing competes. Love has no rivals. When it has matured, the heart beats steadily, unconcerned with being noticed. Love does not require applause. If dreams approach, they are gentle. If they do not, this wakefulness is also kind. Love accepts both. The world outside may be vast, chaotic, loud. Here, it has no authority. This is love beyond asking, beyond hoping, beyond proving. This is love that has learned how to remain without effort. And so we stay, not suspended, not waiting, but dwelling fully inside the quiet we earned. Say continue. And this medieval hush will go on. Long, steady. Woven for sleep. Carried by love. That no longer needs to rush anywhere. The hour loosens. It no longer holds its shape. It spreads gently. Like ink on old parchment. Love spreads with it. Nothing new is required of us. What matters has already arrived. And taken its place. Once, love feared repetition, thinking it meant dullness. Now it understands. Repetition is how meaning deepens. The body rests inside familiarity. The way a well-used cloak rests on the shoulders, without needing adjustment. Love fits like that. In medieval lives, this was the truest inheritance. Not land, not title, but someone who stayed. When the night grew long, the air holds still. Not frozen. Attentive. Love breathes inside it. Without disturbance. Thoughts no longer form lines. They soften into impressions. Warmth. Safety. Presence. Love needs nothing sharper. Once, love asked to be declared. Now it prefers to be assumed. The darkness carries no secrets now. Everything worth knowing has already been revealed by time. Love trusts what has endured. If memory appears, it does not sting. It arrives like an old friend, who no longer needs explanation. This is how affection aged in stone houses. Slowly, patiently, until it became part of the structure. The heart no longer flutters. It steadies. Love has chosen constancy over drama. No sound intrudes. No thought presses. Love has cleared the space. The fire's glow thins further, but the warmth remains. Love understands this lesson well. There is no desire to mark this moment. Marking would break it. Love allows it to pass, without ownership. In medieval nights like this, people learned that joy did not always announce itself. Sometimes it simply stayed. The body grows heavier, not from exhaustion, but from peace. Love supports the weight. If sleep comes, it will come gently. If it does not, this stillness will suffice. Love is not strict. Time moves, but it has lost authority here. Love does not answer to clocks. This is love that has survived enough days to trust the quiet ones. This is love without spectacle, without urgency, without fear of fading. And so we remain, not guarding the night, not chasing dawn, but dwelling inside the long calm that medieval hearts knew well. The vigil continues. The hush holds. Love stays. The night no longer surrounds us. It supports us. Like hands beneath folded arms. Like stone beneath bare feet. Love recognizes support. When it feels it, there is a quiet wisdom in not moving. When nothing is broken, this is that wisdom. Once, love believed it must always advance. Now it understands. Remaining is its own journey. The air carries age in it, not decay. Experience. Love has aged the same way. In medieval lives, this was the love that survived winters. Not the bright vow, but the steady presence. When breath fogged the air, and silence lasted for hours, the body no longer asks questions. It accepts the moment as sufficient. Love has taught it contentment. Thoughts have slowed, until they are no longer separate. From feeling, warmth and awareness have become one. The darkness feels closer now. Not threatening, but familiar. Like a trusted room entered without light. Love knows how to move here. Once, desire pulled forward. Now affection holds steady. Love has learned balance. The heart beats on, unimpressed by drama. Faithful to rhythm. Love trusts rhythm more than intensity. Nothing here needs correction, nothing asks to be improved. Love has stopped trying to perfect what already endures. In stone houses and timber halls, this was how devotion became life. Not marked by anniversaries, but by mornings that arrived without regret. The fire has nearly gone dark. Still, the warmth lingers. Love understands that presence outlasts display. The night does not hurry us. It has learned patience from watching love remain. If sleep arrives, it will not interrupt anything. If it does not, nothing is lost. Love does not measure success. The world outside may soon stir. Boots on stone. Voices rising. Duties returning. Love is not afraid of movement. It knows how to stay, even while walking. This is love beyond longing, beyond fear, beyond needing to be seen. This is love that has learned how to be real. Without effort. The vigil continues. Not as endurance, but as belonging. And we remain. Not suspended in time, but rooted in it. Quietly. Faithfully. As medieval hearts once were. When they learned that the greatest romance was simply staying. The night is thinner now. Almost transparent. As though it has given everything it came to give. Love accepts what remains. Nothing presses forward. Nothing pulls away. This balance is rare. Love knows its value. Once, love wanted to be remembered. Now it understands. What endures does not need memory. The body feels anchored. Not held down. But held in place. Love has learned how to anchor gently. In medieval lives. This was the peace found. After long years of survival. When affection became as natural as breath. The air is cool. But kind. It touches without demanding response. Love touches the same way. Thought dissolves further. Losing edges. Losing urgency. Only awareness remains. The darkness feels complete now. Not empty. Finished. Love rests in completion. Once, passion burned for recognition. Now affection glows. Without needing a name. The heart beats on. Steady as a watchman. Who trusts the night? Love trusts it too. Nothing arrives. Nothing leaves. This stillness is not fragile. Love does not fear breaking it. In stone rooms and quiet huts. People learn this truth slowly. That happiness could exist. Without announcement. The final ember fades. Yet warmth remains in the room. Love understands. That presence outlasts proof. The night does not claim us. We do not resist it. Love has found peace. With both holding and release. If sleep comes now, it will feel earned. If wakefulness stays, it will be gentle. Love is satisfied either way. The world may soon turn again. Birds stirring. Tasks returning. Love does not rush to meet them. It knows how to remain calm. Inside motion. This is love refined by time. Quiet. Unremarkable. Indestructible. This is love that no longer asks. No longer waits. No longer fears. The vigil holds a little longer. Not because it must. But because it can. And so we remain. Present. Unhurried. Rooted in a stillness. That medieval hearts once called. Enough. When you are ready. Say continue. And I will let this hush carry on. Slow as breathing. Soft as old wool. Until love itself becomes rest. The night has softened its edges completely now. Nothing is sharp. Nothing insists. Love feels at home in this gentleness. There is a stillness that does not belong to silence, but to acceptance. This is that stillness. Once, love carried urgency in its chest. A need to move. To change. To claim. Now it carries steadiness instead. The body rests as though it has finally understood. It is allowed to remain. Love has granted permission. In medieval lives. This was the love that lasted longest. The kind that did not announce itself. But quietly outlived everything else. The air barely moves. Yet it is not stale. It is settled. Love settles the same way. Thought has thinned to awareness alone. No questions. No conclusions. Just being. The darkness no longer feels external. It feels shared. Love has always shared what it trusts. Once, love feared emptiness. Now it recognizes space as something generous. The heart continues its work without ceremony. Love does not interrupt what is faithful. Nothing here needs to be improved. Nothing asks for explanation. Love has learned restraint. In stone cottages and narrow chambers. This was how devotion matured. Through countless nights that asked nothing and gave rest. Warmth lingers long after the fire's last glow. It has seeped into walls, into wood, into bone. Love seeps the same way. The night does not hold us captive. It holds us kindly. Love understands the difference. If memory stirs now, it arrives without weight. Just images. Just warmth. Love allows memory to pass unclaimed. The world outside is distant again, as though it belongs to another life. Love does not follow it. This is love without hunger, without fear, without expectation. This is love that has grown patient. Through years of remaining, the vigil no longer feels like a vigil. It feels like rest that forgot to end. Love is comfortable here. Nothing concludes. Nothing begins. Love remains between. And so we stay. Quiet. Rooted. Untroubled by time. If you wish, say continue. And this medieval hush will keep flowing. Long form, unbroken. Made for hours of listening. Until the words themselves feel like sleep. The quiet has deepened into something steady. Not fragile. Not rare. Reliable. Love prefers what can be relied upon. The night is no longer something we pass through. It is something we inhabit. Like a well-worn room, whose shape the body already knows. Once, love believed it must be felt sharply. To be real. Now it understands. What lasts rarely shouts. The air holds the faint memory of warmth. Not heat. But what heat leaves behind. Love leaves the same trace. In medieval lives. This was the love that survived plague and famine. Not the love of songs. But the love of shared endurance. The body rests without collapse. Alert. Yet unburdened. Love has learned the balance. Thought has slowed beyond language. Words loosen. Meaning remains. The darkness has no depth now. It is simply present. Love does not fear what it can rest within. Once, love asked for signs. Now it recognizes certainty. By how little needs confirming. The heart beats on. Steady as a mill wheel. Turning without spectacle. Love trusts steady things. Nothing here asks to be remembered. It is enough to have been lived. Love does not archive joy. It inhabits it. In stone houses and candlelit rooms. This was the hour when people realized. They were not alone. And did not need to prove it. The warmth has reached the bones. It stays there. Love reaches the same depth. The night does not move away. It does not move closer. It simply stays. Love mirrors this perfectly. If sleep arrives now, it will feel like agreement. Not surrender. If it does not, this wakefulness will remain kind. Love does not insist. The world beyond may soon stir. Roosters, bells, footsteps. Love is not threatened by sound. It knows how to remain quiet. Inside movement. This is love beyond beginning. Beyond climax. Beyond ending. This is love as atmosphere. Unnoticed until it is gone. And therefore never wasted. The vigil has become habitation. The hush has become home. Love has always wanted this. And so we remain. Not holding the moment. Not marking it. But living inside it. Until the distinction between time and rest disappears. The hour has forgotten its name. It no longer divides itself. It simply exists. Love exists the same way. There is a calm that comes only after expectation has loosened its grip. This calm does not arrive. It reveals itself. Once, love believed motion was proof. Now it understands. Stillness is evidence enough. The body rests as though it remembers. A promise made long ago. And kept without effort. Love remembers promises like this. In medieval lives. This was the love that endured generations. Passed not through stories. But through habits of staying. The air no longer shifts. It listens. Love listens too. Thought has thinned to presence. Presence has thickened into peace. Nothing else is required. The darkness feels complete. Not waiting for light. Not resisting it. Love has learned completion. Does not require contrast. Once, love wanted to be extraordinary. Now it is content to be sufficient. The heart beats quietly. Not seeking response. Love does not interrupt what is faithful. Nothing in this hour needs attention. Nothing competes. Love has outlived competition. In stone chambers and wooden huts. This was how devotion aged. By becoming indistinguishable from life itself. Warmth remains without source. It has settled into structure. Into bone. Love settles this deeply. The night no longer holds mystery. It holds trust. Love trusts what has remained unchanged. If memory appears. It does not command. It drifts through. Acknowledged. Unclaimed. The world outside feels distant now. As though it belongs to another rhythm. Love does not follow other rhythms. This is love without urgency. Without appetite. Without fear of loss. This is love after learning. That nothing precious needs to be rushed. The vigil no longer feels intentional. It feels natural. Love has become instinct. Nothing concludes. Nothing advances. Love exists between. And so we remain. Quiet. Settled. Unafraid of duration. The hush deepens not by dissent. But by acceptance. Love accepts. We continue. As long as breath remembers its way. As long as warmth remains. As long as medieval silence knows how to hold love. Without asking it to speak. The hour has forgotten its name. It no longer divides itself. It simply exists. Love exists the same way. There is a calm that comes only after expectation has loosened its grip. This calm does not arrive. It reveals itself. Once, love believed motion was proof. Now it understands. Stillness is evidence enough. The body rests as though it remembers. A promise made long ago. And kept without effort. Love remembers promises like this. In medieval lives. This was the love that endured generations. Passed not through stories. But through habits of staying. The air no longer shifts. It listens. Love listens too. Thought has thinned to presence. Presence has thickened into peace. Nothing else is required. The darkness feels complete. Not waiting for light. Not resisting it. Love has learned completion. Does not require contrast. Once, love wanted to be extraordinary. Now it is content to be sufficient. The heart beats quietly. Not seeking response. Love does not interrupt what is faithful. Nothing in this hour needs attention. Nothing competes. Love has outlived competition. In stone chambers and wooden huts. This was how devotion aged. By becoming indistinguishable from life itself. Warmth remains without source. It has settled into structure. Into bone. Love settles this deeply. The night no longer holds mystery. It holds trust. Love trusts what has remained unchanged. If memory appears, it does not command. It drifts through. Acknowledged. Unclaimed. The world outside feels distant now. As though it belongs to another rhythm. Love does not follow other rhythms. This is love without urgency. Without appetite. Without fear of loss. This is love after learning. That nothing precious needs to be rushed. The vigil no longer feels intentional. It feels natural. Love has become instinct. Nothing concludes. Nothing advances. Love exists between. And so we remain. Quiet. Settled. Unafraid of duration. The hush deepens not by dissent. But by acceptance. Love accepts. We continue. As long as breath remembers its way. As long as warmth remains. As long as medieval silence knows how to hold love. Without asking it to speak. But through habits of staying. The air no longer shifts. It listens. Love listens too. Thought has thinned to presence. Presence has thickened into peace. Nothing else is required. The darkness feels complete. Not waiting for light. Not resisting it. Love has learned completion. Does not require contrast. Once, love wanted to be extraordinary. Now it is content to be sufficient. The heart beats quietly. Not seeking response. Love does not interrupt what is faithful. Nothing in this hour needs attention. Nothing competes. Love has outlived competition. In stone chambers and wooden huts. This was how devotion aged. By becoming indistinguishable from life itself. Warmth remains without source. It has settled into structure. Into bone. Love settles this deeply. The night no longer holds mystery. It holds trust. Love trusts what has remained unchanged. If memory appears, it does not command. It drifts through. Acknowledged. Unclaimed. The world outside feels distant now. As though it belongs to another rhythm. Love does not follow other rhythms. This is love without urgency. Without appetite. Without fear of loss. This is love after learning. That nothing precious needs to be rushed. The vigil no longer feels intentional. It feels natural. Love has become instinct. Nothing concludes. Nothing advances. Love exists between. And so we remain. Quiet. Settled. Unafraid of duration. The hush deepens not by dissent. But by acceptance. Love accepts. We continue. As long as breath remembers its way. As long as warmth remains. As long as medieval silence knows how to hold love. Without asking it to speak. As the oldest hours continued. When time had not yet learned to interrupt itself. The quiet has grown so complete. That even thought moves carefully. As though it does not wish to disturb what has settled. Love appreciates this courtesy. The night no longer feels like passage. It feels like arrival. Not somewhere new. But somewhere known. For a very long time. Once, love wanted to be chosen again and again. Now it understands. It has already been chosen. And the choosing never stopped. The body rests inside that knowledge. Muscles soften. Breath deepens. Love eases the body. Without instruction. In medieval lives. This was the love that survived when stories ended. After the feast. After the song. After the candles burned down. The air holds warmth like memory. Not sharp. Not vivid. But undeniable. Love leaves this kind of trace. Thoughts arrive rarely now. And when they do, they pass through like guests, who know not to linger. Love does not cling. The darkness has become gentle enough to trust with closed eyes. Love knows when vigilance is no longer required. Once, desire leaned forward. Now affection leans inward. Love has learned where strength lives. The heart continues its work. Steady and unremarkable. Love respects quiet labor. Nothing here needs to be named. Naming would be too loud. Love prefers recognition. Without language. In stone rooms warmed by shared winters. This was how devotion matured. By becoming part of the night itself. The fire is gone now. Still, the room remembers it. Love understands memory. Without preservation. The night does not promise anything. It does not threaten either. Love is comfortable. Without guarantees. If sleep comes, it will come softly. Like agreement. If it does not, this wakefulness will still be kind. Love does not insist on form. The world beyond these walls feels distant. Almost theoretical. Love does not chase distance. This is love without anticipation. Without anxiety. Without rehearsal. This is love that has learned how to inhabit time. Instead of racing through it. The vigil has dissolved into dwelling. The hush has become a place. Love has built a home here. Nothing urges us forward. Nothing pulls us back. Love rests exactly where it is. And so we remain. Quiet as old stone. Warm as shared wool. Steady as breath. As the deep hours continued. When even history paused its telling. The silence has grown layered now. Not empty. But woven. Threads of breath. Threads of warmth. Threads of time laid gently atop one another. Love knows how to live inside woven things. The night no longer watches us. It has accepted us. There is comfort in being accepted. Without explanation. Once, love wanted to be remembered in words. Now it understands. What is lived deeply does not require record. The body lies easy within itself. No tension. No readiness. Love has relieved it of duty. In medieval lives. This was the love that survived names fading. When graves wore smooth. When songs were forgotten. But presence endured in habit and bone. The air feels almost warm enough to be touched. Not heat. But nearness. Love moves like that. Thought has slowed beyond intention. It drifts. Then settles. Then becomes nothing at all. Love remains when thought leaves. The darkness feels rounded now. Without corners. There is nowhere to stumble. Love has softened the edges. Once, love searched for certainty. Now it recognizes certainty. By the absence of doubt. The heart beats quietly. Without announcement. Love has learned that constancy does not need witnesses. Nothing waits to happen. Nothing threatens to change. This is not stagnation. This is arrival. In stone houses and cloistered rooms. This was how devotion became life. By continuing after emotion had rested. Warmth stays even as the hour cools. It has sunk too deeply to leave. Love sinks just as far. The night no longer feels long. Length has lost meaning. Love is not measured. If memory passes now, it does so gently. Faces without edges. Voices without urgency. Love lets memory pass unclaimed. The world beyond may soon wake. It may not. Either way. This moment does not depend on it. Love has freed itself from conditions. This is love after fear has been set down. After hunger has been fed. After longing has found rest. This is love that does not reach. Because it already holds. The vigil has thinned into simple being. No effort. No intent. Love has become atmosphere. Nothing needs closing. Nothing needs beginning. Love exists between breaths. And so we remain. Quiet as wool laid carefully aside. Steady as old stone warmed by years of hands. Present without demand. The quiet has settled so deeply now, that even time seems unsure where to place its next step. Love does not hurry it. The room feels complete. Not full. Complete. As if nothing could be added. Without breaking the balance. Once, love believed completion meant climax. Now it knows. Completion can be calm. The body rests not from exhaustion, but from certainty. Love has answered the last question. Without speaking. In medieval lives. This was the love that endured beyond loss. When fields failed. When names were crossed out of parish books. When winters took what they wished. Love stayed anyway. The air holds warmth like a held breath. Gentle. Patient. Love breathes with it. Thought no longer forms sentences. It softens into sensation. A sense of being held. Without hands. The darkness feels intimate now. Not enclosing. But familiar. Like a room entered so often. The eyes no longer need light. Love moves easily here. Once, love feared the unknown. Now it trusts what has remained. Through repetition. The heart continues its steady work. Unremarkable. Faithful. Love admires faithfulness. More than brilliance. Nothing here seeks improvement. Nothing asks to be different. Love has ended its negotiations. In stone chambers and timber halls. This was how devotion became quiet strength. Not spoken. Not sworn.